We're going to go ahead and get started. Jimmy is en route. I think he's pretty close. Let's stand for a prayer, pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us together today to discuss a TxDOT road project. We thank you for the ability to rework this road, and we hope and pray that you will cause it to be safer for all that travel it. Help us now to make the best financial decisions regarding the widening and straightening of this road, as it involves so many different moving parts. We just turn this agenda over to you and pray, Father, that the end resulting project will be under budget and that the road will be better than expected. In Christ's name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are gathered here for a special Commissioners Court meeting today on the 30th of November, and we decided to have this meeting after last week's Commissioners Court meeting, and the purpose today is to discuss the fee schedule that has been presented by H W Lochner, that has now been reviewed by our committee consisting of Barbara, our auditor, and Commissioners Precinct 3 and 4, Applewhite and Parker. Before we get into those, because we're still waiting on Commissioner Parker to arrive and he'll have some input on this, I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes and review a document that we have not discussed in a while. We've discussed the general overall figure, but if you'll refer to a document there entitled Right-of-Way Estimate Summary, this is a document that was provided by TxDOT. You'll see a date in the bottom right corner of August of 2020. And this is a document that was prepared by TxDOT that was provided to us just to give us their estimate of what they believe it is going to take to acquire right-of-way, to relocate anyone that will have to move as a result of right-of-way purchases and the widening, straightening of the road, and also utilities costs. And so the summary page there is page 1 of 4. There are some 3 additional pages, 2, 3, and 4, that give some backup data on there. But looking here at the first half of this page, the state cost is $175,000. I don't know how this is determined, but the state picks up the cost of relocation of an individual. I understand that we have 2 people that are being relocated on this road, so I guess that means that they will have to have a new house purchased or built. I don't know the size of these homes. It obviously doesn't look like they're very large structures, but $175,000 is paid for by TxDOT. So the total estimated state cost in the right-of-way acquisition and relocation of utilities is $175,000. The local cost, which would be Titus County, you've got 3 components there. Right-of-way, or the land acquisition that we pay 100% of, the estimate is $537,628. Relocation of the utilities, which we also pay 100% of, is $1,498,000. And then the cost for appraisal, title, and demolition, $293,800, bringing the total estimated acquisition costs of Titus County $2,329,463, plus the state's $175,000 is that $2.5 million figure that we have discussed in the past. Looking at the second page there, you'll see, and it's interesting to note that the actual purchase of the land from individuals up and down 1735 is $537,000. There's not that much acreage that's involved in this project. If you look on page 2, you'll see different components in there and how big they are, relatively speaking. There's a 4,500 square feet of commercial land. There's 13 acres of rural property, 8.642 that's part of someone's residence or homestead, and then there's 1/4 of an acre of someone's easement, existing easement. So you total those, all of those up, you're talking about less than 25 acres of land that's going to be purchased as part of this project here. And again, the estimated cost of $537,000, is actually one of the smaller pieces of this puzzle. You'll see there some of the major improvements that have to be purchased. You've got a water well, a vacant house, maybe that's one of those relocations. You've got a garage, a shop, some sheds. You've got gates, pipe fence, barbed wire fence, and a pond there. And then $20,000 worth of damages. So all of that totals up to your $537,628. Obviously, we would hope that the work of the right-of-way specialist or consultant would be able to come to an agreement with those landowners to be able to buy that for that price. Flipping over there to page 3 of 4, one of the bigger pieces here is the utilities relocation, $1.5 million virtually, and that's all Titus County. The additional miscellaneous cost of demolition, appraisal, and title work there of $293,000, and then once again the relocation cost. And whether that's relocation of a dwelling, I don't know exactly how TxDOT defines that. Looking then at your next page, you'll see some small print there, utilities relocation estimate. And take a look at just how many utilities are involved in this project. You've got Bowie Cass Electric Co-op, you've got power poles, 23 of them to relocate. You have AT&T relocating telephone lines. You also have People's Telephone Co-op relocation of fiber optics. Then you have the big one, Tri Special Utility District. You'll see that there are 2 components to move a pump station and to move 2-inch, 4-inch, and 6-inch lines. The estimate there between those 2 components is just over $1.2 million. You have CenterPoint Energy. We've got to move gas lines. You have the City of Mount Pleasant, 4 inches worth of forced main sewer line. You have Suddenlink, who has aerial fiber located out there. And then finally, you have SWEPCO with 1 power pole. No, it looks like 7 power poles out there. So $2,046,000 with a 10% contingency, $2.25 million. So there's your individual components here. Now I'm looking here at the subtotal. Okay, that includes utilities relocation as well. Okay, I'm going to take a 30-second break here. I've got to talk to the man in charge of our COVID testing to find out why they're not at where they're supposed to be this morning while we wait on Jimmy. Yes, sir. Okay, I don't know if you know what's going on out here, but my wife was up there waiting 30 There he is. Okay, so again, back to our summary page. $2.329 million is the estimated cost that the county will put into this. This does not include any services provided by H W Lochner. That's important that we understand that we've got a large bill that will need to be paid to H W Lochner in addition to this $2.3 million estimate that we hope will be accurate. And so therefore we have about $3.6 million in the bank that has been there since 2004 when we sold bonds in order to raise money for right-of-way and relocation of utilities for both the Harts Bluff project, which has already been completed a few years ago, as well as this large project, which we knew was the larger of the two. So, all that said, we will now turn our attention to discussing the decision and review by our committee on the fee schedule of H W Lochner. So, who would like to begin on that? Barbara, you want to start the conversation, and these guys can chime in?
Yes, sir, I can. First, I want to make sure that we have in the record how we did this. We advertised for bids in the Mount Pleasant Tribune on October 10th and 17th. The deadline for response was November the 2nd. I opened those bids here and read those aloud on November the 3rd. No one was present. We received 4 bids. Of those bids, one of those we did not evaluate in depth because of the financial condition of the company, their financial statements. The 3 other bids that we evaluated, only one of those bidders, let me correct that, one of those respondents, because this was a request for qualifications, we evaluated the qualifications of those companies. Only one of those companies' response was for both the right-of-way acquisition and appraisal as well as the utility relocation. So after we did that, we came back to court, read that information into the minutes, and then at that time we opened the fee schedule. Before that point we had not opened the fee schedules because we were strictly evaluating the qualifications. Once we opened the fee schedules, we looked at Lochner because that was the one that we recommended to consider. And Lochner's price for right-of-way acquisition, negotiation services, relocation services, let's see what else is in here, administrative cost, appraisal services, appraisal review, condemnation support, came to $477,400. Then we opened the utility relocation. The utility relocation, again from Lochner, came to $349,417.78. The information we have here seems to be very detailed, and we called and visited with the 2 representatives, and what they communicated to us is they try to make this their best estimate of what the cost could be. The cost could be higher, the cost could be lower, depending on, when they get out there, how things go. But they try to include everything as they go through this project. Guys, is that?
You got it, Dana. Only thing that I might point out there, other than what Barbara said, is that this fee here for the utilities is that is pretty much the top of the scale. That they said that they could probably were hoping to come in way under that, but that was something that we discussed with them when we talked to them the other day, and so.
So like a worst case scenario here?
Yeah.
What are some of the variables that affect the right-of-way acquisition? In other words, you're buying this land from people, and I guess they've given some costs of some assumed condemnation proceedings. If we get to a point where they're just unable to negotiate a price with the landowner, and they have to go into a condemnation. Is there any cost that's there allowed for that, I think? Yeah, condemnation support services, it looks like there is about $46,000. So again, I guess they've said that maybe 6 of those total tracks might need condemnation work. Pardon me, I need to talk to COVID testing again. This is Brian. We would certainly hope we don't have to go to condemnation. That's not good for anybody when you're at a stalemate with a landowner and you have to forcefully take their land. We would hope that that can be avoided. But they have put in costs there reflecting that. Would you say that the price for land acquisition is also got some worst case scenario in here?
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess the bottom line is, you know, and we had talked, if you'll recall, several months ago, we had talked about what Mark Heidecker had told me on a project of this size to expect between $1 million and $1.5 million on a project of this size. You know, I think we all thought that was a crazy high figure, but here you've got a figure that's over $800,000, or I guess right about $800,000. So the bottom line is you're comfortable with H W Lochner. You like the fact that they were willing and gave you a bid on both the right-of-way acquisition as well as the utility relocation. You've made the selection of Lochner, and so the next step there is then to work out a price with them. Do you feel like the price that Lochner is giving you for these services is reasonable and acceptable in light of this project?
I do. Yes.
Barbara, what's your comment on that?
Well, if you had the information from Mr. Heidecker that it was going to be $1 million to 1.5, and we're at 800,000, we're half of that on the from their highest end. We're at half of
And again, he's just given us a figure,
right,
just based on me telling him,
right.
you know, how many parcels were involved there.
Does this seem reasonable compared to what we did when we did the loop out there? I mean, I know that's a much larger.
Yeah, that's not apples and apples. I remember that was a huge figure, but in light of, you know, in light of the number of parcels in my preliminary discussions with TxDOT, you know, they were not going to, I remember them saying that this would likely be $1 million plus.
thing that I saw as I looked through the responses were for the qualifications that the people have who will be performing these services. It's very detailed, a lot of initials after their names for specific certifications in this field. It's things that I don't know anyone here that has that level of qualifications or certifications to do this kind of work, because there are a lot of legal requirements related to negotiation, appraisals, those kinds of things. My understanding is those are in the statutes to protect landowners, and that's a good thing. And the people who will be doing this have those qualifications.
And as we know, that Lochner is one of the companies that is frequently used by TxDOT in similar projects.
Most of the work on the utility relocation is related to engineering.
So if we look at TxDOT's estimate of what it's going to cost us, not counting the services of Lochner, at $2.3 million, and you add on another 800, that brings you in between 3.1 and 3.2 million. We've got 3.6 million in the bank. There's a cushion of $500,000. We would certainly hope that nothing goes awry on this to cause us to have to utilize any more than we have in the bank.
And one more thing, Judge, any funds that we have left over after this project is complete will have to go for debt service, because that's where those funds were generated initially. It won't go back into general fund.
And we hope that that's a nice sum,
Right.
rather than having to fork over more money. You know, my observation, it's just amazing to me how much all this stuff costs on what you might think would be a relatively small project, and here you are spending, you know, nearly $3.2 million to buy 25 acres. It's okay. Well, I mean, we can comment and talk about it all we want. It's not monies that we like to spend, but it's monies that we were told back 16 years ago to be prepared for, and that's why the amount of money was borrowed back then that was borrowed. I think somewhere, I don't know, $4.5 million was borrowed back in '04 for these two projects. And so we certainly hope that it will take care of it. So we can continue to discuss, or you can make a motion if you are ready to do so.
I make a motion that we go with Lochner on, or we've already got it, to take care of the two.
How about motion that you would accept the fee proposal of Lochner, who has been previously selected as your right-of-way and utility relocation consultant?
Yes, sir.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 And there you have a unanimous vote. Okay, committee, thank you very much for working on this, and let's all say a prayer and cross our fingers that the work is much easier than it is estimated to be, and that the people up and down 1735 will be agreeable. We must understand and remember the difficulties that we had with, that's probably the wrong word, the upset landowners that we had on the Loop project. And we must be sensitive to the fact that you are taking their land, sometimes land that they have no intention or desire to sell. You may be offering prices that they think is not fair, and And while they may be supportive of the project, nobody likes to give up their land involuntarily. And we're grateful to have a third-party consultant that will do that negotiation. I certainly don't want to be involved in that negotiation, but we will hope that the little bit of land that's being asked for will be land that they don't mind giving up if they're paid a fair price. But we must be prepared that there will be, I'm predicting, some upset landowners. I know of one already who's not happy with the revised right-of-way drawings, and we may have others. So again, let's try to be empathetic with them as they contact you. And I think the right response is, from what we learned on the Loop project, I don't think the right response is, well, hey, that's not my problem, you're dealing with a third party. Just say, well, you know, let me look into this. We do have a professional consultant that is handling this for us, but let me listen to you and hear your comments and see if there's anything I can do to make this process more palatable. I don't know what the magic words are. I had my share of conversations back when we were doing the Loop, and they were not pleasant. Okay. That is our sole item on the agenda today. Again, I thank you, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Motion, Commissioner Applewhite.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Parker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.